Good afternoon, and welcome to WPL's virtual cooking class, Low-Fat Salad Dressings with Colin McCullough. Since Colin went vegan in 1995, he's been finding new ways to make healthy eating convenient and delicious. So Colin teaches private and public cooking classes throughout New England, sharing his experience and recipes with people who want to incorporate more whole food, plant-based meals for health, compassion, and the environment. He has published 2 books, The Healthy Vegan Cookbook and A Smoothie That Tastes Like a Girl Scout Cookies. You can learn more about cooking Colin on his website and Facebook page. Links are in the recipe handout. I'll paste it in the chat. Welcome, Chef Kelly.
All right, yeah, thank you for having me. I think Worcester has the record for the longest number of classes that I have taught at any one place, so for several years now. So thank you so much. All right, so this class is kind of a bit of a journey for me, actually. When I first became vegan a long time ago, then I really tried to find from the store, I tried to find salad dressings that were similar to the dairy versions that I liked, especially ranch. When I was in college, I discovered ranch dressing and wanted to put it on everything because it's so good. And also, my mom used to get mad at me because she called me a salad drencher because I'd have the bowl of salad and I just put a ton of dressing all over it. And so you start with something healthy and then you add something that's full of fat and oil and calories and everything, and it's not really so healthy anymore. So I tried the store-bought brands, but I didn't really like anything. And then as I was trying to get away from eating things that were had so much fat and oil in it, then I tried the low-fat stuff. But low-fat salad dressings from the store, they're just slimy. There's the oil-free salad dressings. The texture is all weird. It's slimy. It's all of the thickeners and stuff that they put in. It's strange. So I really started making my own salad dressings, and instead to try to make things creamy like dairy normally would, then I started using cashews. So in the Healthy Vegan Cookbook, I have a lot of different salad dressing recipes, and most of those have cashews as a base. Reasons for that being, it does make it nice and creamy, much less calories and fat than using oil. And cashews don't really have much of a taste. They're pretty neutral tasting, and they also, because they're very soft, they blend in very well. So that's what I have been using is cashews. I was asked to teach a class specifically on low-fat salad dressings, so not using any nuts, trying to find other alternatives to that. And so one thing that I came across that has been working really well that I wanted to share or teach in the class today is there are a couple of different bases that you can use instead of using nuts. If you're allergic to nuts, there are some other alternatives that are much lower in fat, and you can just drench the salad away. You can pour as much as you want on because it's super healthy and it's not going to, be bad for you. So a couple of alternatives. One is Silken Tofu. All right. So this is the brand that I use is Morinu. This Silken Tofu, this is in a aseptic box. So this is shelf stable. Usually in a regular supermarket, you're going to find this in the ethnic section with the Asian foods. This I really like because it's shelf stable. You don't have to put it in the refrigerator. It lasts for months. So I'll use this for salad dressings, for desserts and different things. And I can just keep it in my pantry and then just use it when I need to. So, it's at my regular supermarket, which doesn't have any, fancy stuff. It's probably in your supermarket. You can definitely get this at Whole Foods. You can just buy a case of it online, have it shipped to your house. So Silken Tofu, it has the consistency of, it's sort of like custard. It's very thin. So it's different from the firm tofu that you can kind of mash up and kind of crumble it up. This is really more of a custard kind of consistency. Like any other tofu, doesn't really have much of a taste to it. It just kind of absorbs the taste of whatever else it's in. So, you know, just like the cashews, it really helps to make things nice and creamy, doesn't have much of a taste. And so it works very, very well for that. It does have a little bit of fat, but really it's nominal. It's a very small amount of fat. So I don't even worry about it. So you can buy regular, you can also buy the silken tofu. Sometimes in the supermarket, they have it in the plastic tubs with the water in it, just like all the other kinds of tofu. You definitely want to get the silken kind though. You know, the soft, you know, anything like that's not going to work. You have to get silken tofu so that it has the consistency of custard. So there's the tofu. These recipes are really going to be based on using the silken tofu, but there are a couple of alternatives that we can also talk about as well. One is cauliflower blend, which you're going to see that in all of the recipes that we have for today. So cauliflower blend is a 1-to-1 blend of 1-to-1 ratio of water and cauliflower. So the easiest thing to do would be if you buy some riced cauliflower in the frozen section at the supermarket, or cauliflower florets, you can do that as well, frozen. And then you would boil them first so that they're cooked. When you cook the cauliflower, it kind of blunts the taste of the cauliflower, so it's not quite so strong. And so you would take a container, like a two-cup container, fill it up with the riced cauliflower, and then on top of that, fill the water up until it's level with the cauliflower, and then blend that for like 4 to 5 minutes, put it in the blender. You really want this to be as smooth and creamy as possible. You know, you definitely want to just let the blender run, you know, go do something else for a couple of minutes, come back. So you can use that as a base for salad dressings. One thing I do want to point out with the cauliflower base is, well, a couple things. One, you know, cauliflower definitely does have a taste to it. So it doesn't really sit in the background like the silken tofu does in terms of a taste. You know, any of these recipes where I have the seasonings measured out, the herbs and things like that, you probably want to double it because you want everything else to really overpower the taste of the cauliflower. So there's cauliflower blend. The other thing with cauliflower is, you know, if you have like, there's going to be the creamy dill dressing that we're going to do today, and also vegan ranch dressing. Both of those are white and creamy dressings. If you use cauliflower, it's not going to be as white. So it ends up being kind of a, once you mix everything in, like this is the ranch, you can see it's kind of a tan color. So, you know, not necessarily the most appetizing, but, you know, the cauliflower works great in some of the other salad dressings that we're going to do today because, you know, they're very orange or they're very yellow and it just mixes right in, and, you know, it's not going to have a color difference like that. So just wanted to point those two things out. The other alternative to that is you can use a potato blend, cooked potato. So like a 1-to-1 ratio of water and cooked potato would also do the same thing. You can use that as a base for salad dressings. It's going to make it nice and creamy. And the cauliflower and the potato, of course, there's no fat in either one. So you could use that and have absolutely no fat salad dressing, or you can use the silken tofu, nominal amount of fat, really small, but that makes things nice and creamy as well. So there are some things there. Why don't we go ahead and, well, actually one more thing I wanted to mention. There is also storage. So with making your own fresh salad dressings, they're only going to last for about 4 days. So anytime you use fresh ingredients, you know, it's like the 4-day fresh rule, right? It's only going to last about 4 days. So when you have in your refrigerator, you have that bottle of dressing that's been in there for like 3 or 4 months. Why does it last that long? It's not supposed to. You know, if it was all fresh, it would only last for 4 days. So it's full of preservatives and things like that. So if you make it yourself, it's not going to last very long. But there are ways, if you wanted to store it, you certainly can. I use the freezer a lot to store extra dressing. Some of these recipes that we're going to do today make about a quart of salad dressing, which is a lot. So you can definitely store that. This is a silicone ice cube tray. All right. So these are like $5 on Amazon. You can order these. I like to use these instead of plastic ice cube trays. I'll fill this up and then freeze them, and then I'll put that in a Ziploc bag. And then anytime I need a little bit of salad dressing, I can just pull it out and heat it up in the microwave or something like that. You don't want to use the plastic because then your ice cubes are going to taste like salad dressing. It's, you don't really want that. So there's the ice cube trays, or another alternative is you can use, I have the little half-pint mason jars here. You can fill that up. I know it's hard to see on the screen here, but there's a fill line like right here. So you don't want to fill it all the way up if you're going to freeze it, because it'll break the glass, it'll crack it from the expansion. So you just fill it up to the fill line, and then you can just take it out and defrost it, and then you have salad dressing that way. Also, star of the show always, not me, it's my Vitamix. I have this is a really powerful blender. You don't need a Vitamix to make these recipes, but it's really helpful because it makes things super creamy. If you have a NutriBullet or a Ninja or something like that, that'll be fine. I always just I plug Vitamix. I'm not paid by them, but wish I was for all that free advertising that I do for them. So, all right, so why don't we start with the first recipe, which is going to be creamy dill dressing. All right, so this one is really good. This is one of those creamy sauces. Like I said, it's supposed to be white. If you use the cauliflower or the potato, it's going to come out a little bit darker. So, it's not like it's going to taste bad. It's just the color is not quite what you normally expect. So this one, I'm going to use 3/4 cup of vegan yogurt to start with. So I make my own vegan yogurt. It's really easy to do if you have the Instant Pot electric pressure cooker that has the yogurt setting on it. It's basically like about a day, a 24-hour process to make it. But if you use, like I use soy milk for this, but if you use any unflavored, unsweetened soy milk or oat milk or cashew milk, almond milk, you can make it out of whatever you want. I do have the recipe in the Healthy Vegan Cookbook on how to make that with the Instant Pot. It's really super easy. You just buy the soy milk and then also the acidophilus pills, which has the bacteria in it that makes yogurt. So Instant Pot, set it and forget it. It's a piece of cake. So there's the yogurt, or you can just buy the unflavored vegan yogurt at the store. It seems like they always add sweeteners and flavors to it, but you just want plain. So I'm going to use that as the base here. And then I'm also going to add the 1/2 cup of silken tofu that's here. So like I said, it kind of has a custardy kind of consistency to it. It's not something like the firm tofu that you cut up into cubes or anything like that. So I'll go ahead and put that in, and that's going to be the base of the salad dressing. And then for some flavorings, I'm going to put in a tablespoon of lemon juice. I squeezed this fresh before I started the class, just prepped everything up. So, always encourage people to use the fresh squeezed if possible. That stuff in the plastic yellow bottle that lasts for months. Again, don't know why it lasts for months. Lemon juice, if you squeeze it fresh, it's going to last about 4 days and it starts to go bad. So fresh always tastes better. All right, so there's the 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I put in 1 clove of garlic here. And I put in about a teaspoon of shallot. So a shallot's an onion. It's a very mild onion. It's sort of like in flavor, it's kind of a cross between garlic and onion. So go ahead and put that in as well. And I have some seasonings here. I'm going to put in, let's see, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt that's in here. For salts, if you've seen my classes before, this is the salt that I like to use, Redmond, R-E-D-M-O-N-D, Redmond real salt. This used to be kind of a specialty product, but now they sell it at most supermarkets. This has the highest nutrient content of any salt on the market. and it comes from an ancient salt bed out in the Midwest, so in Utah. So that's what I like to use. And then also there's going to be 1/4 teaspoon of mustard powder in here as well. Not at all the same as using the prepared mustard, so you want to use mustard powder for that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and blend this up. I always mix in the herbs, the chopped herbs afterwards. We have a tablespoon of really finely chopped fresh dill, and then 1 teaspoon of finely chopped fresh parsley. You can definitely use dried if that's what you have, but it really tastes so much better. It makes such a big difference with this. If you use the fresh herbs, it's really worth getting that if you can, if you have access to that. So I save it for afterwards, because if I blend in the herbs, then it's going to turn it green, and not necessarily the prettiest salad dressing to look at when it's nuclear green. So I'll go ahead and blend this up first, and then I will mix in the herbs. So anytime I'm blending, it's always the perfect time. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and throw it in the chat. I'm just going to blend this up for a minute, and so if you have anything you want to add, go ahead and jump right in. Right. So there isn't too much to have to blend here. It's really just the shallots and the garlic getting blended in, right? So I'm going to pour it into the cup here, and you can see it's nice and thick, right? You can certainly adjust the consistency of it. If you want it to be a little bit thinner, then you can just add, you can add more yogurt to it. Or if you want it to be a little bit thicker, then you can just add more of the silken tofu. So just adding in all of the herbs, and now, all right, mix this together. There we go. Oh, and all right, so let me just clean this up here. Get into my food. All right, there we go. So creamy dill dressing. It tastes really similar to what it would be if you had dairy dill dressing, and like you could see, has very, very little fat in it. It almost don't even measure it. There's so little fat in it, and so if you're a salad drencher like me, if you like to put on tons of salad dressing, then you go ahead, right? It's super healthy, so why not? So I'm going to go ahead and put this aside, and we will start with the next recipe. Get these moved over here. You can enjoy the view of the river here. I should just have the river view for an hour. That probably would be more entertaining than watching me for an hour. All right, so I'll go ahead and just wash this out real quick. I do use the blender for all of these recipes. So, I always say in the classes that I teach, if you're willing to invest some money in trying to eat healthier, especially as we start a new year and everybody's trying to eat a little bit healthier after the holidays, a blender, a really powerful blender is going to be, for me, I say it is the best investment that you can make. So, you can get the air fryer and the pressure cooker and all that stuff later on, but if you're going to start with something, definitely a really powerful blender is going to be makes such a huge difference. I use this for dressings and soups and smoothies and sauces, just all the time. So you can buy these used on Craigslist or eBay. They last a really long time, so don't be afraid to if you can find one for like $100, 150, grab it. That's a great deal for a Vitamix. So the next recipe we're going to do is carrot ginger dressing. Right, so this is really similar to the dressing that you would find at a Japanese restaurant or a Thai restaurant. A lot of times they'll give you a little green salad just to kind of start things off, a little side salad. and it usually has this carrot ginger dressing on it. They in the restaurants, and if you make it yourself, it typically has a lot of oil, toasted sesame seed oil in it. So trying to make this low fat, we're gonna take kind of a different way to do that. So first ingredient we're gonna put in is 1/2 cup of the silken tofu. All right, so add that. That's gonna help make it nice and creamy. I'm gonna put in 1 cup of water here. Right. And I'm gonna put in 1/3 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. Right. So anytime in the recipes that I use, anytime that I call for vinegar, it's usually apple cider vinegar, because it's not a very strong vinegar. It has kind of a medium taste to it. It's not really sharp. And then also, it definitely does have some additional health properties that say like white vinegar doesn't have. So I'll usually use that. Sometimes balsamic if I'm looking for a specific taste, but usually I go with the apple cider vinegar. All right, and then as the name of the recipe suggests, there's a lot of carrots. So 3 cups of carrots. These are not cooked. They're not peeled. So of course, most of the nutrition is or a lot of the nutrition is in the peel. So I want to leave that in. All right, so I just chopped it into small pieces. You don't need to shred it or dice it or anything like that. The blender, especially if you have a powerful blender, it's going to do all the work for you. So just go ahead and put the carrots in. All right. So, if you're having a salad, what healthier way to dress the salad of vegetables with another vegetable, with a whole ton of vegetables in there? So you can do that. Also, there's going to be about 2 inches of fresh ginger root, right? So you don't have to peel it or anything. Just make sure that there's no dirty spots on it or anything. You put it in the blender. Blender's going to take care of it. I'm going to put in 1 medium shallot here, right, for a mild onion taste. I'm going to put in 1 clove of garlic. All right, and I'll put in 3 medjool dates. So if you've been to my classes before, you know that this is the form of sweetener I like to use, is the medjool dates. It's the only whole food healthy form of sweetener. Anything else that you put in is going to be a really refined product. So this has all the fiber still, so it's still very healthy. So medjool dates. I'm also going to put in a tablespoon of tamari here. So tamari is really similar to soy sauce, but tamari has kind of got what I say is like kind of a deeper, like richer taste to it than soy sauce. Soy sauce is kind of lighter and saltier, where tamari has this deeper, more complex flavor. So I prefer that. Anybody who's gluten-free, tamari is great because it is only made from fermented soy, no wheat or anything like that. All right, and then the last thing is, like I was saying before, in this recipe, traditionally, toasted sesame seed oil is used to really give it that flavor. There's really nothing else that has that kind of flavor except the toasted sesame seeds themselves. So you can just buy the sesame seeds, put them in a small skillet, just dry roast them. Just make sure that you keep, moving them around so they don't burn. But there's about a tablespoon of toasted sesame seeds that I just toasted myself. And, it's got that wonderful smell, that wonderful aroma that you're used to with toasted sesame seed oil. This is where it comes from. So you can put in a tablespoon in the blender, you can blend it together, and you're not going to have little bits of seed in there. It's just going to blend right in, and it's going to give it that same wonderful flavor, but without any oil. So I will go ahead and blend this up here. Just going to pause this for a minute. This one specifically has a lot of ingredients to have to chop up. As you can see, the blender is really kind of working hard, chopping up all the carrots in there, the medjool dates, the shallot and everything. So this is a recipe that I'm not gonna do it today because I don't want to take up all the time. Just, you don't need to sit here and watch me blend for 5 minutes. But this is one where you really want to just let it run. Let it run for like 5 minutes. You really want to break down all of the ingredients. You want this to be nice and creamy. You don't want to have like fibrous pieces of carrot or date in there or anything like that. So I'm just going to run this for another minute, and then I'll just pour it and set it aside. I'll come back and blend it some more. So, like I said, I'm not doing this for 5 minutes here. All right, so this recipe makes about a quart. So like I said, it's really a fair amount. I can already taste the roasted sesame seeds, the toasted sesame seeds here. So it's gonna be a lot smoother once I blend it for, like I said, about 5 minutes. But I'm just gonna pour it and then set it aside, and I will come back to that later. So, one thing I like to point out, you saw me using the blender here. You saw every time I turned it on, I always put my hand on the cover because especially with a powerful blender, it can eject the contents upwards. So as you can see here, I have a white ceiling, right? So I'm going to keep it that way by not exploding my blender all over my ceiling. So always make sure that you put your hand on the top here. So just going to go ahead and wash this out here. And like I said, if anybody has any questions or comments, just let me know. So that carrot ginger dressing, that's another one that has really almost no fat at all in it. And it's really similar to what you're going to find in the supermarket or in the restaurant. So a great one to drench your salad with. All right. So this next recipe we'll do is called Sun Gold dressing. So the basis for this one is nutritional yeast, which I promise is not nearly as scary as it sounds. It's a horrible name. They should come up with a different name for it. Nutritional yeast is an inactive yeast, so it's different from what you use for bread or like baker's yeast or brewer's yeast. Nutritional yeast, it's these white flakes or yellow flakes here. And it gives things a really nice kind of like a cheesy, like nutty kind of flavor to it. So I like to use it in vegan cheese sauces, and in this recipe it's really, really good as a salad dressing. So I'll go ahead and add, there's 1 cup of nutritional yeast. It used to be, when I started as a vegan years ago, this definitely, you had to go to Whole Foods or the health food store. You could never find nutritional yeast. But now really most supermarkets have it. My supermarket, they don't have anything fancy at my supermarket, but they have nutritional yeast. It's in the baking section at my supermarket. Yours probably has it. You may have to ask, where they would have it. You can certainly go to Whole Foods and get it, or Trader Joe's has it. Let's see, you can order it online. It is pantry shelf stable, lasts a really long time. So, you just get a bunch of it, put it in the pantry, and then you can use it whenever you want. So it also, as the name implies, it does have a lot of added nutrition to it. So it is a very healthy thing for you to have, especially if you're a vegan. It's fortified with B12 and lots of other things. So there's the nutritional yeast. I'm going to add 1/2 cup of water to that. All right. And then we're going to add 1/2 cup of the silken tofu. All right. So in the Healthy Vegan Cookbook, I do have this recipe. It has the cashews in it. It's a fair amount of cashews to use. So you know, it's not necessarily something you want to drench the salad in, but with this, like there's almost no fat in it at all. And the consistency comes out really, really similar. And the taste is very similar. So it's a great way to do it. A quarter of a cup of apple cider vinegar I'm gonna put in here. All right, I'm gonna put in 2 teaspoons of tamari. Can't tilt it forward too much because it'll come out. All right. And then I'm gonna put in 2 cloves of garlic, 2 cloves of raw garlic. So in this one, I wanted to have kind of a strong garlic flavor for it, so I put in the 2. So I'm gonna go ahead and blend this up here. All right, so this is an easy one to blend. Not too much here that has to blend together. It's just kind of mixing it. So this is, like I said, the sun gold dressing. So makes about a pint. All right. I never freeze this because it never lasts that long in my house. I use this. I love to use this. You know, I'll have salad and just, you know, use this very quickly. So there's the sun gold dressing. And let me just wash this out here. So, you know, I always try to mention this in my classes. The USDA recommends that people have 4 to 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day, right? So it probably would not be a surprise to anybody that 90% of Americans get 2 servings of fruit and vegetables or less in a day. So that's really kind of something to shoot for, the 4 or 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day. And you say, well, you know, would I have to eat like a squirrel every day? I mean, do I have to have salad like 3 times a day in order to do that? No, definitely not. There are lots and lots of ways to get fruit and vegetables every day. In the Healthy Vegan Cookbook, you know, that's one of the reasons that I wrote it, is because, you know, there are so many different ways to combine fruits and vegetables and whole grains and things. You know, you don't have to be eating like a squirrel. You know, they say like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. You know, 4 to 5 servings of fruit and vegetables, your doctor is going to love you. All right. If you shot for like 9 or 10 servings of fruit and vegetables a day, like I know some people who really go for that. Your doctor will put a poster of you on their wall in their office and then tell everybody who comes in, eat like that person, because they will live forever. And, you know, they have endless amount of energy. So that's something to shoot for. All right. So we've got 2 dressings left here. This next recipe is called mango mustard dressing, which kind of sounds a little weird, but trust me, you know, when I wrote this recipe, it was really kind of in the same vein of like a honey mustard dressing. So you have the really sweet and the sour. So the combination of those. So this is kind of a variation of that. You know, as vegans, a lot of vegans don't eat honey because it's technically it's an animal product. So, and you know, there are other kind of more natural ways to get something nice and sweet as well that's not refined. So we're going to use mango. So I have 1 cup of frozen mango here. Of course, if you use fresh, it's going to taste better, but I never have the time or the inclination to sit there and chop up a mango unless I'm having it for breakfast or something. And also, you know, mangoes, you know, you bring them home and they're not ripe, and then they're ripe for like 2 days and they start going bad. So if you use the frozen mango chunks, you can get that at any supermarket pretty much. And so you can just pull it out and use it anytime you want. So much more convenient that way. It's going to give it a nice sweetness. All right. And be part of the base of the sauce. I'm going to put in 1/4 cup of silken tofu here. All right. Go. And I'll put in 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar here. We got that. Right. And then like I said, we have the mustard. So this is prepared yellow mustard, just, regular, plain old, regular yellow mustard. You can definitely mix it up and use Dijon mustard or, some other kind of flavored mustard if you want to make it a little bit more complex flavor. But I just love the yellow mustard. Just go with that. So 2 tablespoons. Don't use the mustard powder here. You really want to use the prepared mustard, which fortunately most people have in their refrigerator already. Also going to add in 2 of the medjool dates here, really trying to help to offset the tartness of the mustard here and make it a little sweeter. All right, and then I'm going to put in a teaspoon of salt. So, you definitely don't have to add the salt if you don't want to. It's not going to make this taste salty. I like to use salt for, what restaurants usually use salt for. The intention of salt is salt really acts as an amplifier of taste. It kind of boosts the existing flavors that are already there. If you actually taste something that's salty, then usually they've used too much because it's really, you're not supposed to taste the salt itself. It's supposed to be just kind of acting as an amplifier. So if you don't want to use salt, then you don't have to. It just makes the flavors here a little bit stronger. So I'll go ahead and blend this up here. As you can see, it kind of throws the dates against the side of the blender, the walls of the blender. So I'm just going to take a spatula and just kind of scrape it down, get everything back down to the bottom again so that it can blend everything nice and smooth here. If you decided to double the recipe, then this wouldn't really happen because it would be full enough. It wouldn't really splatter everywhere, but so where this one has the medjool dates in it, you really do want to let it run, if not even a little bit longer than what I did. You really want to make sure that all of the dates are really broken down in here. This recipe, this really supposed to be, this dressing is supposed to be nice and creamy and smooth. Definitely not supposed to have little pieces of dates in it. So I'm just going to pour this out here. So it's nice and thick. You can certainly add a little bit more water if you want to thin it out and change the consistency of it a little bit. Go ahead and rinse this out, and we'll do the last step here. Like I was saying, there's lots of different ways to combine fruits and vegetables, to add fruits and vegetables into your diet. Salad is certainly a really easy way to do that. It's like a garden salad to me, just some lettuce and carrots and shredded beet or something like that. That in itself is kind of boring to me. It's not something that like I would really order at the restaurant because it's boring. But the thing that makes it interesting is the dressing. It's having a really good dressing. So, like I said, in the Healthy Vegan Cookbook, I have a lot of different recipes. Anytime that it says cashews, you can just swap it out for the tofu, and it's going to come out pretty much the same. And So, you know, for me, the key of having salads and not getting really bored with it is just having lots of different dressings, so that, you know, it always tastes a little bit different. So we'll go ahead and bring over the last recipe, the fifth one here. So this one is vegan ranch dressing. So the ranch one, it was the hardest one for me to be able to find one. Like I said, I'd never even had it before until I got into college. And they had it at the salad bar. I'm like, oh my God, I put this on everything. It is so good. I can't believe I've never had this before. Love the flavor, nice and creamy. But then, you know, once I went vegan, you know, buying the ranch dressing, the vegan ranch dressing from the store just wasn't really not great. I didn't really like it. You know, certainly not like what I was used to having before I went vegan. So I started when I was developing this recipe. You know, I was playing with the flavorings and, you know, made it a number of times, and then, you know, I finally got the flavorings just right, all the levels just right. And I said, oh my God, this is so good. So this is my favorite of all of the dressings that we're doing today. It's my favorite. You know, I also mix it with some buffalo sauce also, if I'm, you know, want to add some spice to it. And oh, it's just so good. So without further ado, we have 1 cup of silken tofu. Like I said, I want this to be really creamy. So a lot of tofu here. Go. So 1 cup. I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of water here. Right. And there are a couple of different seasonings that I've put together here. There's 1/4 of a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. I think in the recipe that I sent, I had it mistaken. I had said half a teaspoon of fresh ground black pepper. You don't want that, that's too much. So 1/4 of a teaspoon. Also 1/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder and 1/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder. You can use fresh garlic if you want in this, but you know, garlic is in this recipe, the garlic kind of supposed to play well with the other flavors. So, you know, if you put in a clove of garlic, it might be a little too much. So I like to use the powdered garlic so I can really measure it and get a consistent flavor here. So I'll go ahead and put that in. And there's also 1 teaspoon of salt in this as well, which I don't know if I had that in the recipe. I think I hadn't updated that yet. All right, a couple more things we're going to put in. This is liquid smoke. So I put in several drops of liquid smoke. This also used to be kind of a specialty ingredient. Now I can find this at most supermarkets. This is usually in the condiment section. If you look at where like the steak sauces and things like that, they usually are going to have this liquid smoke. This brand is Stubbs, but there's all different kinds. And this one is hickory flavor. So liquid smoke is really just water that's been infused with smoke. So it's got a nice smoky flavor to it. You can just add a couple of drops. A little bit goes a long way. So you really don't need to add that much. But this is going to give it a really nice smoky flavor. Usually in ranch dressing, there's some bacon that's added to it. So that's kind of what the liquid smoke is trying to give that same kind of smoky flavor that the bacon provides. All right. So just like the dill dressing, I have fresh parsley that I've chopped really well. I'm not going to put this in the blender because it's going to be green ranch dressing and just not super appetizing to me looking. So I'm going to blend everything else except for the parsley, and then I'll add that in afterwards. So this is also another recipe that really I never freeze because it never lasts that long in my house. I love ranch dressing, if you can't already tell. So there's the base of it, and then I will add, there's the 2 teaspoons of fresh parsley here. That's really well chopped. Couple of things I want to point out. Just like in the other recipe, using fresh is going to make all the difference in this recipe. So you can use dried parsley if you have it, that's okay, but it's not going to taste nearly as good. I don't know why. Parsley is like the secret ingredient in this recipe. It just makes it taste so good if you have fresh parsley. So just going to go ahead and add that in. I've made it without the dried parsley before and just didn't like it nearly as much. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that together here. Also want to point out with, especially with parsley and with cilantro, both of them grow really close to the ground. So when you get it fresh, you have to really wash it well. Last thing you want in a dressing is for it to be a little sandy. You don't want any dirt in there. So this is vegan ranch dressing. Almost no fat in it at all. So this is one that I am thrilled to make a big salad and just like pour as much of this over the salad as I want. My mom can get mad at me all they want. I'm an adult now, I can do what I want. So there's creamy ranch dressing there. All right. So that is all 5 of the dressing recipes for today. If you have any questions or comments about any of those before we're done, then go ahead and throw those in the chat. Just to make my publisher happy here, I do have the Healthy Vegan Cookbook as one of the 2 books that I wrote. The Worcester Library does have a copy of that, so if you want to check it out, you can take a look at it. This is also available on Amazon in the print book version and also the ebook version as well. So in the book, there's over 200 different recipes. Like I said, trying to recombine or trying to combine fruits and vegetables and whole grains and just healthy whole foods as much as possible to make you the star of the doctor's office. That's my goal. So there's Healthy Vegan Cookbook, and then also there is the smoothies that taste like Girl Scout cookies. All right, so that is using healthy whole food ingredients to recreate the flavors of all 10 of the Girl Scout cookies, but in healthy smoothie form instead. So there's that as well. That is also available on Amazon in ebook version and the print version as well. So those are my books. You can go onto my website, which is colincooksvegan.com. That's in with the recipes. On my website, I do have a Google Calendar that shows all the different classes that I teach. So I teach mainly online at this point, pandemic. So I'm teaching mainly online. So for classes like this, it doesn't matter where you live, you can go on and register. They're all free. So, just like I've done at Worcester, I teach a lot of different classes, whether it's dressings or soups or smoothies, all kinds of different things, healthy desserts, lots of different classes. So you can just check out my Google Calendar and see where I'm going to be teaching next and sign up for that if you're interested. And also, I do have videos on YouTube as well. All of those links are on my website. And also, you can follow me on the Colin Cooks Vegan Facebook page as well. So there's all of that. Just looking in the comments, excited to try the recipes. That's great. And thank you for joining me for the class today. It's a nice, very, very cold but sunny Saturdays outside right now. So thank you for joining us for the class.
Hi, thank you, Colin, and thank you all for joining us today. I think it's a great recipe. I can't wait to try it myself too. All right, so be sure to click on the links in our chat, including our survey. I already unmuted all of you. If you have any questions, so you want to just say anything, you can feel free to just turn on your microphone and speak to Chef Colin.
Okay.
Just wait another 5 minutes and yes. All right, yes. All right, great recipes. Thank you. Looking forward to your next class, Jody. I think that's